I did some pressing this morning or early this afternoon, just some overhead pressing. So I have that done. And so now I'm going to do some snatch, grip push press. Snatch grip push press, and maybe some rack jerks. A lot of it will depend on how the wrist feels. I don't have any reason to think that it's going to be giving me any issues, but I am planning on doing a lot of overhead stuff, so it could start to get a little bit irritated. We'll see. What's nice with a session like this is I just can start it. I don't have to really warm up. But I'm still gonna put my dance shoes on. I'm so sweaty already. I mowed the grass in the front yard, but it's so muggy out that I'm just dying. I did order a squat rack for my indoor platform, so in theory I'll be able to use that. Mostly probably in the winter, and or for if I do like a morning session, then I could see that being really useful instead of having to try to come out here and get everything opened and then run back in. Literally just walk in the other room and squat and then leave. And I will have to remember to take in some of the pound plates and the little change plates, really. But I don't really know what weight I'm going to work for the snatch push press or the push press. I put 110 for both for 5 sets of 3. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. All I know is I'm going to throw the wrist wraps on and we're just going to start hacking away. It's like I just ran a mile. It's actually crazy how much. It doesn't even. It has to just be humid because it doesn't really even feel that hot. Maybe it's that corn summer that people have been talking about. I don't live close enough to farms where I think that would be a major effect, but not much change about that if that was the case. Fan's either got to be blowing back here or towards me while I'm lifting. It's got to be one or the other, otherwise I'm going to actually sweat to death. Alright. So we go 50, 70, 90, 110. And I imagine like the snatch push presses should be pretty easy. I don't think I'll struggle too much at doing those. Don't imagine. Don't imagine. Move that there. There we go. Oh. Up to the last couple of weeks of summer. I finished my last grad school assignment, so I'm just waiting for, I guess everything's due technically on August 3rd. That's this Sunday. Is when everything is technically due. Make sure. Oh, there we go. All right. Sometimes I wonder, I don't really stress about like how many people show up for a live stream or like or here. Sometimes I always panic that I think that I put it as unlisted, so then nobody can find it. But I know if even one person pops in for a second, I know it's technically out there. All right. So triple here with 50, triple 70, triple 90, and some triples at 110. I might do a front squat today. It'd just be singles because I did volume on Sunday. I'm definitely gonna do snatch pulls, but while I have everything in the rack, I might do a front squat single. We'll see. I'm gonna try to do at least some of the warm-ups in rhythm. Maybe not. Yeah, it wasn't really. That was, I mean, as rhythm as it's gonna be. Actually, no. I think I will try to do them all like that. So it will be a challenge. It will make the weight more difficult. So I suppose that will actually be good to try to do it with both the snatch push press and the regular push press, to try to do them in rhythm, just to make the weight a little bit more difficult. And to also really make sure that I'm catching it balanced. So do two things at once. Walk and chew bubble gum. Yeah. Yeah, challenging. Es difícil. So, because I think it's a good idea to kind of do them in a rhythm like that, instead of trying to jump up to 110, I'm going to do everything at 90 for both kinds of push presses. Hello, Pedro. Alright. more difficult. I think 5 sets of 3 is too many as well. So 3 by 3. So we're really cutting down a lot, but getting a feel of what I want these sessions to look like. So 3 sets of 3 will be obviously easier, but will really give me no excuse not to do them continuous. One more set. So it is technically a second session. I did some overhead press earlier today, just 3 sets of 5, so nothing crazy. But now it's going to be snatch, push, press. I'm going to do one more set of 3 here, and I'm trying to do them touch and go or continuous, and you'll kind of see what I mean if you see the next set. Then regular push press, the same kind of idea, and potentially some rack jerks. We'll see. For sure, snatch pulls after that, and then maybe a front squat. So I did volume on Sunday as far as front squats go, and so I don't need to do volume today, so I'll be doing volume with them tomorrow. But yeah, so upper body mostly, and then maybe a front squat. Front squat's like once I do all the pressing and jerks and stuff, if I'm feeling good and I want to do some. Sweating to death though. Es muy caliente afuera. Not just in here, but outside. It's like very humid. ¿Cómo se dice humid en español? Dime la palabra. Really trying to emphasize, I mean, obviously catching them correctly, but just making sure my left arm is aggressive. Húmedo. Está húmedo hoy. Mi piel es en fuego. Humedad. Mi piel is very wet. Someone corrected their message. Can't believe it. I can't believe it. Right. It's actually the hardest part when it's just sweaty. Is like my hands get bad. The sweat isn't bad. It's when your hands are sweating. That's when it's not fun. But we'll take this green off for a set so I can do regular push press. I think these continues to be good because it makes you have to really catch it in the correct balance, and also being able to work against the force coming down. So you have to kind of overcome that force a little bit. And so it kind of self-corrects, bringing it down and doing it correctly. But it makes it so you're more intentional when you're bringing it down, so then you can go right into the next rep. It certainly makes the weight more difficult, but catching it back is good for me to practice anyway, especially with like that snatch grip. My left shoulder's still a little bit tight in that position when I'm bringing it down. If I were to like do it really slowly, then it would kind of not hurt, but just be tight. And just going through that range of motion will just be good. Challenge my shoulder mobility. Alright, so these are regular push presses now. Same kind of like touch and go reps. I don't have the rhythm for those at all. I don't have rhythm in general, but doing them at 90 is going to be a good idea. How did your, was it yesterday or today that you said you were going to have a big session? Wow, I'm sweating to death. Alright. 3 by 3. That one felt better. I'm trying to fix my knees with squats, but my back hurts too bad. Well, like I had been telling you before, as long as the load's appropriate, then all depends on like the level of pain that you have. Like if it's a mild discomfort, then you can kind of work through it. But I mean, if it's like shooting pain or like numbness, then obviously you can't really work through that. But all of life is pain, so you have to work through some of it at some point. I only ever lifted when nothing hurt, I would never lift. But it's a lot different to have some achiness, some soreness, some tightness versus shooting pain or 9 or 10 level pain. I'm basically an Olympic swimmer at this point, how humid it feels. Oh. Yeah, I mean, just moving in general and doing mobility, sitting in a squat randomly, like just, I think that's something that's, I think Zach Tellender talked about that, but I think it's something that's actually underrated, like doing really quick mobility work. If you have a minute, I know it might be weird somewhere, but like, you can just sit in a full squat for a minute when you're somewhere, like that's more than what most people are going to do anyway. And I was reading a little bit, or trying to read. It's like a philosophy book, so I'm struggling. But I just sat in a squat when I read it for a little bit, and it's not like I'm trying to sit there for 50 minutes or any length of time. It's just well, that's good, and I'll just get back up. But trying to just do that randomly because it's just, I think it's just healthy to do. Frankly, like I think that's not even just like, oh, it's gonna help me lift better. Like I think it's just good to like have mobile hips and stuff. And I mean, at least for me, it's comfortable. Thankfully, I have stretchy hips, or at least I can sit in the bottom of a squat comfortably. I just can't lift out of it very, very well. But yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like when you're not adding the weight, you can push your mobility really hard, as far as trying to improve hamstrings and hips and all of that stuff as well. Because even if you were to push, really, really hard at those and they got you sore, it's not like you're worried about it impacting your lifting. So that's another thing you could really, especially like if it's your back, a lot of hamstrings and hips in general is just going to be good. But just stretching all of your legs and shoulder, everything is good to do as well. I think it feels good. That's my biggest issue with mobility is like I just like stretching my hamstrings because it feels good. And I don't really, like, I know it's important to stretch other areas, but, like, I could just stretch my hamstrings and be happy. I guess it kind of stretches my back, too, if I'm, like, sit and touch my toes. Wow. All right, second set. On the last one, we kind of kept more of a full grip, and that felt a little bit better on the bringing it, as I brought it down, to be able to bring it back up. So I'm going to try to do that same thing. Not really like let go of the grip necessarily. It's definitely challenging in kind of a different way, so I kind of like it. I have to think a lot harder when I'm doing them, but I also feel like I have to try harder as well. So it's kind of like an interesting feeling because the weight isn't super difficult, but I'm trying to make it all groovy. That's good. Yeah, it'll all start to come back as you just get comfortable with the range of the motion, your body gets used to it, and you're consistent with it. It's hard to work through pain, though, because it hurts. I'm getting actually cooked by this heat. It's actually kind of insane. But one more set of 3. It's weird because, like, everything feels productive, but, like, I'm struggling a little bit. So same kind of idea. It'd be more of a full grip as I'm coming down instead of letting my hands loose back up. And then still trying to really emphasize pushing the left arm up and back so it's not left out in front. So it's the last set of 3. I definitely got to keep stuff like that in. I think that's actually, I think almost having one of the days that are like this to be all touch and go. So the weight has to stay light, but also it's more of like the strain is like catching it. The total load is of course less, but it's still difficult. And then on a subsequent day that's like this to do it, you know, normal reps and stuff. But, you know, people always talk about back extension and stuff being good, and I just never do them. I've never aggressively done back extensions or anything like that. But my back also gets worked literally just standing and doing nothing. I have a hyper responding spine. But, yeah, especially, I mean, if you were doing like shorter ranges of motion, just getting back to the full range of motion is going to be the #1 priority. And like, based on what gym plates you have, even if you're doing like 40 kilos, doing it from the floor is just going to be better than trying to do partial ranges of motion. And oh, I lost everything. I lost it all. The heat's getting to it. We're trying to fan this way. See if we get some airflow this way. It's not gonna really help the phone. Yeah, it's really it's hard to say I really had a really, like, I've done deadlifts in kind of a lot of different ways in that regard. But for me, the main way, because I would always try to work on my hook grip, even when I was just powerlifting, and I would go up and do the first set, or sometimes, like, let's say that I was going to go up to 200 kilos for triples, or, you know, whatever weight. I would do that first rep with a hook grip, and then throw straps on and do the other 2 reps with straps on, so I wasn't destroying my thumb. I did that pretty consistently, and that helped build my hook grip. But you could do a similar concept with like working up without straps or with straps. Again, it doesn't really matter if you're just doing it for fun, but just work up to that heavyish single. Or let's say that you started at 40 kilos and that's your top single. The next week you work up to 50 kilos and then you do a drop down set at 40, and then you can keep adding more sets, building up, but then adding additional work on the back down. You just want to think about, like, I mean, obviously the total reps that you're doing, but also as the intensity goes up, you know, how difficult the sets actually are. Because doing, like, you know, doing that progression, you know, say you do a single at 60 kilos and you do back downs at 40 kilos, that's going to be a lot easier to do and recover from than once you're able to go up to 150 kilos and then drop down to 100. So you also have to consider the sheer intensity of the lift relative to what you could do, but relative to just the weight itself. Because intensity is objective in the sense that you can always base it off, you know, your max, your working max or whatever, but there's also a consideration of just the sheer load that you have in the bar. Because, like, for me, I can go up to a 90% deadlift, but that is going to be much more difficult to recover from for me than like a 90% back squat, just because the load on that deadlift is a lot higher in general. So I don't think that's necessarily something you have to worry about too much just as you're going, to where if, like, you start to slow down a little bit and it's like, it's not necessarily you doing something wrong. Yeah. But let's wow, this fan's actually blowing air, which is what I want it to do. Let's say you go up to a triple for week 1, and then you go up to 50 for a single, and 40, and 60. Just writing out something for you. Something to illustrate my point. So I think this might all be backwards. So what I'm going to do is take the camera off and flip it over, if I can. Actually, it's just going to blow all of this air. Air's doing a good job of blowing. All right, let's find. Let's flip you around. So then, what I'm trying to illustrate there, I know, sorry for my chicken scratch, but say like get my finger there you go, week 1 you do 40 kilos for a triple. I always write my sets and then the reps. I know sometimes people do that the opposite way. Let's say the next week you work up to 50 kilos and then you do your drop set at 40 kilos, so that's your workout for week 2. Obviously you can do more sets, like maybe you do 3x3. This is just for illustration purposes. In the 3rd week, you do 60 kilos for a single, you drop down, and maybe you push 50 kilos for a triple. That's your session for week 3. And then on the 4th week, you go to 70 kilos for a single, but then 60 kilos, because maybe this is like, a night, getting up to a higher percentage lift, your drop down set is 60 for 2 reps. But let's say that like at any point, say you get to the 60 kilos, you do this, and like I want to do 50 for a triple or something. You can only do it for a single. Well, then you keep this session the same when you move to the next week, and then you try to improve upon that, whether it's getting a double or a triple with that. So you're trying to linearly progress the intensity in a sense to what you can tolerate. Obviously, this is all based on your pain and comfort level of doing the weight. But then your drop sets, instead of doing 1 set of 3, it could be 3 sets of 3, and then you're trying to progress that way. Because you can progress. This is something I actually would do with bench press a lot. So let's say that I did, see if I can actually get this somewhere. So let's say like bench press, I got to say 100 kilos and I did 5 sets of 5. In the next week, I would try to do 105 kilos for 5 sets of 5. But let's say that in this session, I wasn't able to do that. So let's say I did 105 and I got 2 sets of 5, and then I got a triple. So then I drop back down to 100, and then I would do those last 2 sets of 5. Essentially getting the close to the same amount of reps, but then you keep that weight the same for the next session to where it's like 105. Now I'm trying to get that 5x5 again. And then if you're able to do that, then the next week, you start that progression at then. Then you can get really into the nitty-gritty. Let me go to another extra page. You get into the really nitty-gritty where you plan on like, all right, I'm going to do 105 for a top set of 5. Or let's scribble this out and say that you got stronger. Say that you're at 110 now and you got to 1 set of 5 there. But this is going to be like a difficult set to do because of the load, the percentage, whatever. And then your next set, then you try to do 4x5 at that 105. And then you try to progress like the next week to do 2 sets of 5. And, maybe like I said before, like maybe this 110, you only do it for 3, like gives you somewhere to push. And obviously you can get into the nuance of doing like 108 or, something in between. So it's arbitrary in that sense, the weight that you use. But it's important to build up in that sort of regard. So to be considering the intensity and the volume of the sets that you're trying to build. Because you're not just trying to necessarily get stronger, you're trying to get back to where it feels comfortable. So that's where your kind of perceived exertion is going to be done, in a sense. Like if I'm lifting, I'm not worried about, getting healthy necessarily. So I'm worried about, how the weight feels, but you're trying to make sure it feels good, it doesn't hurt or nothing. But periodization is very nice. Yeah. Well, and bench press is one that I would use that a lot with. For me, it was a very simple thing to program because it was very, like, I won't say easy to recover from, but it was just, I just had to do volume and get better at, or just to get stronger. Sorry, I'm trying to plug my phone back in. If I can find the thing. There we go. But similar concept of what you can do for deadlifts. Like, I wouldn't necessarily do 5x5 deadlifts, like 5x3, and you can see what weight you can tolerate, and then you can assess not only how the weight feels, but also when your technique breaks down. Do you feel yourself round? Do you feel your back start to get in discomfort? And then that's where it's like, all right, the next week I'm going to try to build to a little bit above that, because it's all, at the end of the day, every model is linear progression where you're trying to increase the number that you're doing, whether it's the intensity or the volume. It's just really how you get there. And the misnomer is that, with other whatever models that you look at, when they're like have natural undulations with it, linear progression or linear periodization is like a mandatory thing because everyone wants to get stronger, but it's not a straight line. I think that's where people get to the, well, I have to do this and undulate and RP. It's like, at the end of the day, if you are building, it's as long as the best fit line of your data is going up, then you're moving in a positive way. As long as you're moving in a positive way, the weights are going to continue to move up, or the intensity or the volume, whatever is going to continue to be able to be increased. And at worst, like, that's another thing too, is like, even if you are stagnant for like 2 weeks, like, you are still doing more than what you did 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I mean, kind of at this point, as I recover from injury, assuming that you don't have setbacks and stuff like that, you should kind of most likely rapidly progress initially until you start to get back to normal numbers, and then you kind of you'll be back on that same grind that we are all on. But getting to the same weight multiple weeks in a row is also progress, which is not fun progress because you always want to increase the weight, but that's a linear progression anyway. If your number is going up and then stagnant, it might go up, it might drop down a little bit, but it's still above where you started. As long as, I think that the bigger risk is that you push the linear progression too aggressively up, and then you just collapse down because you're overworked and overtrained. So that's where like the undulation and RB, all that stuff kind of gets into like trying to mitigate that. But I mean, you just have to be able to put in the work and understand that it's sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe bad. But do a couple of Yorks. Alright, so I'm going to do 70, 90. That's kind of how they feel. Maybe I just keep these all at 90. When I try to do them touch and go, it'll be hard for Dirks, but it'll be honestly really good for me to do. Definitely gonna do them at 90. I think that this is kind of one thing I really like with training is I had a plan and I kind of changed it as I'm training, and it's like I like the changes I made, and then I can immediately just continue to implement this change. But like originally this was just normal triples with everything, and whatever, like a session that would have been fine, but I didn't really think about the touch and go until I started training, and like that felt interesting. Like it was definitely challenging, but having this session in, I think, will be a good almost like a practice day. I mean, obviously I'm still getting a lot of reps in. And obviously I did, pressing earlier today, so it's not as if I'm not getting work in, but it's an interesting, like, technical bit. Really trying to get the jerks back, but I'm going to keep them at 90. It's a really cool day. Starting to take form. This is why it's hard for me to find a program that I want to follow. Like, you'd have to randomly change a day and then just immediately, it's programming for me is very like, you should have days where you do heavier, lighter lifts and like have certain exercise selection, but you also have to be open to change on any particular day. Whether you're feeling really good, feeling really crummy, or like today I discovered a different version of the lift that I want to do, and so that's going to push the weights down that I was considering. But if you don't marry yourself to any lift, then it's not a divorce when you're not doing the weight prescribed. That's difficult. I like it though. Feels like I'm athletic. I'm an athlete now. I have to be coordinated, fast. What's up, Eric? Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm trying to do like touch and go reps, and still like thinking about the left arm. But I did it for the snatch push press, the regular push press, and now for the jerks, which like they feel. I mean, it's only 90, but like I'm feeling athletic and fast, which is nice. I always forget that, like, having days like this where you're just not maxing out or going to super heavy numbers is beneficial because you're moving a lighter load fast and obviously, hopefully, more technically correct. But I'm dying from the sweat though. I bought a squat rack for my home. I'm saying for my home gym. I have 2 home gyms now, but for my indoor one, yeah, I saw that 100 or 84 kilos clean looked really easy, but yeah, I always forget that, and it's because it's fun to lift heavy weights. You feel productive when you lift heavy and you lift well, but you have to balance it with lighter lifting, especially if you have, like me, a higher frequency from which that you train. You have to have that balance, otherwise you just are always slow and always sore. And not that I'm not sore today, but it's nice, and also cognitively, to have a day that you're not having to get hyped up. Like, I'm just thinking about the lifts. I'm not really, like, having to get hyped up. Which allows the session to go a little bit faster as well. So lots of benefits to that, but today wasn't going to be crazy heavy regardless, but the touch and go, I really like that, so I'll definitely be keeping it into a session like this. Yeah, go to bed, Jorge. Go to bed, Jorge. Come on. And it's even like fatigue management is important, but also it's like there is like training benefits to moving weights fast. Like there's, and it's actually a benefit of weightlifting is to where you can find a lot of exercises that are still like they're not weight wise difficult, they're technically difficult, but it's light and I can move them fast. And that obviously, like you mentioned the fatigue, like you're naturally gonna fatigue less with a lighter load, but then you can still work on something, like you can still challenge yourself cognitively. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. You can have days that are physically difficult, like if you're doing a 95% front squat, you're not being challenged mentally that much. You are in a sense, but like you're not thinking a ton when you're doing that, versus like with a light lift you can think about a lot, and not necessarily you should, but you can think through a lot of different technical things and feel out the movement. Plus, like, probably also for joints, probably good too, not lift heavy all the time. so some might argue that. All right, one more triple here. I think that was two that I did. Plus, for something like this, like you get some extra work from like the receiving of the jerks and like that reverse of them. Feels like an epiphany in a sense, but so now I'm still feeling pretty good. You talk about lifting light and all that stuff, but notifications. I'm going to break that rule immediately and do some front squats. At least for the upper body stuff, it was light. I don't know how good I should feel for these though, so. Like as you're pressing up to like throw it back. The most consistent thing that I have found that has helped with jerks is trying to just be more aggressive with my legs. Everything else is not necessarily secondary, but if my legs are pushing aggressively, if my dip drive is aggressive, then everything just kind of follows suit with that. Even if my footwork is not great, even if it's a little bit out in front, if I'm just really aggressive with my legs and my timing is really good in that reverse, then everything is just good in that regard, which is easier said than done. So I'm trying to get back to how I did jerks in my last competition, where I was using that competition was a little bit too short of a dip drive, but just a really aggressive dip drive, and really trying to feel the bar, kind of feel it like wrap around me, but still stay upright. Because one thing I've noticed that obviously the more speed you have on your dip, the more reverse speed that you can have. I'm sure that's the correct term. But the more that you can get the bar to whip, and the more energy that you're able to push back up with it to reverse with. But if I go too fast and the bar becomes disconnected and it crashes on and pulls me forward, or I just go forward in general. And so it's a balancing of going down aggressively, but not so aggressively that I'm actually shifting forward. So trying to feel the bar, almost like it's a hard feeling, but I'm trying to dip down aggressively and feel the bar almost wrap around my clavicle, and not like it literally is doing that, but just feel the pressure of it coming down on it, and then fighting against that pressure to hoist it up. When I can feel that, like when I did that 130 push press recently, when I can feel that, then everything is just like, I feel like I can throw anything above my head. And I feel it's a lot easier for me to feel with behind the neck lifts, but also like there's more surface area to like feel that in general. And that front rack is a little bit more difficult, but I need to double check to make sure I actually did 3 sets. I guess it doesn't really matter if I did or didn't. 1, 2. No, I only did 2, but you know, I'm not going to do. Actually, just for you, Eric, I'm going to do my 3rd. We're going to do it without wraps on because I'm a psychopath. 1 more set. I do need chalk though. My hands are slipping a little bit. So 3x3 snatch push press, 3x3 push press, and now 3x3 jerks. Everything at 90 kilos too. Last one wasn't as perfect as I would want, but they all feel fast, which is kind of the main thing. My main goal: blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. But we're gonna put the heavy wraps on. Do some front squats now. But it'd be 70, 120, 150, and maybe 170. Oh no, we're not doing those today. Woo, my legs are sore. Well, the 5x3 front squats definitely had an effect. Nothing hurt, but I'm definitely very sore. You know, that's a pretty nonsensical sentence you just typed. You should go ahead and reread that and try it again, because it doesn't make any sense. I would say it was a good try at a sentence, but I don't know what you're trying to say. They're just saying nonsense. Bro's yapping. Oh, there's my straps. No, you're just speaking nonsense, which is fine. You're yapping. No, I don't have that feeling. I don't forget where I'm going when I'm driving. I think maybe you have some amnesia or something. Probably something you should get checked out, to be fair. That doesn't sound normal. Yeah, no, I don't forget how I got places because have to drive back. You're talking about driving. Like, I'm never. I'm always thinking about how to get back the whole time because I have to turn around at some point and drive the other way. that's, that's how driving works, my friend. Unless you're planning on not turning around. I'm literally always thinking about the way back. But no, I don't have memory problems like that. I don't. I'm sorry. Post dinner jog, let's go. I'm doing some pulls now. Arnold Schwarzenegger did heavyweights. I don't. He did a combination of things, and he also took steroids. So, um, so all those guys, like, you can see many clips of them straining with the weights. So, I mean, for bodybuilding, I don't know. I don't care about muscles. Just train, just exercise, linearly progress the weights that you're doing. I think it's boring to do really high reps only, but I'm sure it's fine. But combination of high and low weight and reps is best. A variety. But no, the big thing that Arnold and all those guys did was train real hard because they were taking a lot of supplements, which helps. You know, you can do any kind of training if you just take those supplements. Lots of training works. You just listen to your body, eh? It's not that hard. I've never had a tendon injury. just listen. If it hurts, don't. Well, I mean, it's different because you don't care about the intensity. You just care about the aesthetic look. I don't really understand the appeal of bodybuilding because it's just all subjective. But that, and also, like, you're just looking at how you look versus, like, actually doing something fun. Like, even if it's powerlifting, even if it's CrossFit, like, at least you get to do something with that muscle. Just looking like a bodybuilder, I don't know. There's no function to it. I've never understood the point, but to each their own. We're going to do one set here, one pull, and then hang for a total of 10. And then I'm hot. That's all I got. I'm cooked. I think the heat's just getting to me a little bit, but that's alright. I think that was what, like 5? Let's say 1 plus 4. Pull plus hang. But I'm cooked. The heat's gotten to me, I think. Yeah, but even like I don't really value bodybuilding competitions because I don't really view it as a objective sport. It's kind of like a lot of things like that, like synchronized swimming and dance, and even some like ice skating and gymnastics that aren't, in my opinion, true sports because there's too much subjectivity in the measurement of who wins and loses. Even if you have specific criteria, you have fallible people having to grade based off them. But it's fun and dandy, I suppose, but I've never understood the appeal. Yeah, I think that's probably more accurate. It's almost like it's closer to an art than anything like a sport. I just find a lot of the bodybuilder edits of them acting like they have to like fight to train hard, or like it's not hard to train bodybuilding. You just you just have to work hard. Like I don't know. To me, like if I didn't have to, if I didn't have the goal of like progressing certain exercises or certain things up, and it was just hypertrophy, to me that's really easy. That's never been like, oh my goodness, getting a pump. I don't know. Maybe it's just like because that's always come easy to me that I've never really been like, oh, this is so difficult. Well, you see a bodybuilder edit, oh, you have to fight in the gym every day. He loves to train. Or it's those bodybuilders too. They're like, man, he just worked really hard in the gym. Like, yeah, that's what you do as a bodybuilder. Like, dude, what? Yeah, you kind of have to work hard in the gym. He just loved lifting. Like, yeah, you'd kind of hope. If you pick bodybuilding or any strength sport, you kind of hope that he likes the gym a little bit. But to me, there's too much drugs in it. Too much drugs in all sports, but bodybuilding is a bit too vain. Especially like the extreme physiques. I just think they don't look that good. I wouldn't want to be that lean. But a lot of like the big classic physique people are kind of insane. What's up, Reed? We just finished. I'm cooked. I was gonna do multiple sets of pulls, but I got for a ride. I did touch and go reps with the snatch push press, the regular push press, the jerk, all with 90 kilos, so super light, and then try to do some pulls. But I'm actually gassed. I was gonna do like one set of 10 of pulls and just do like a quick, like one long set, but I just got slapped. Man, I don't know about doing. Oh. See, to me, kind of at the end of the day too, it's like if you want to be like immense, 300 pounds and be that large and whatnot, like you're gonna have to take drugs. And to me, it's kind of like high level sports as well, where it's like unless you have a chance to. I mean, I would say like winning medals or money from professional athletics is probably more enjoyable than high level bodybuilding. I can't imagine that feels very good to have to cut all that weight and use the diuretics and stuff like that. But I think it's just too much. I mean, it's just burning the candle at both ends. You could say that for high level athletics for a lot of it as well, but oh yeah. Yeah, 300. I mean, if you're going to be any sort of bodybuilder and weigh 300 pounds, you're going to have to be on the snozzle anyway, which is going to exacerbate the issues of just weighing 300 pounds. Not really. Most people aren't able to weigh 300. Unless you're like 6'9", then it's hard to weigh 300 pounds and not be unhealthy. Even then, it's like, if you're that big, you're probably not... what's the idea? Like, if you're a larger person, you don't live as long as shorter people. Mostly on the kind of the extremes, like you don't see a lot of like 6'5", 6'6", 98-year-old people. Because it's hard to exist. Chilling in the pool. I wish. I need to go jump in the pool. It is very humid. All right. Well, that's pretty dope. So, are you still on your business trip, or at the conference, or is that already done? Was that just for the weekend? Oh, okay. So you did you go to an actual gym then to go and lift or something? To where you met the Olympia guy? Oh, that's cool. And I'm trying to think how far Nashville. I want to say Nashville is like a good like 8 hours from me. It's not a crazy like I. It's close enough in Midwestern terms to where I would drive. Let me Google it. 4.5 hours away actually. It's a lot closer than I thought. So it would actually be like not a reasonable drive, but a cardinal over there. I think he's calling his girlfriend. What do you think? What's that bird doing? What that bird doing? Look at that guy. This is his mating call, probably. He's trying to get a little action. At least I think that's a male cardinal. It kind of looks like one. That like light brownish red. Maybe it's not. I kind of want to put a bird bath in my backyard. So I saw them kind of using the. It was like a sewer little thing I have. I saw them using that to dip themselves in. Pizza. Ooh, that's nice to get some of that local cuisine as well. I'll set this down and give a look at that guy. Oh, he flew away. Bamboozled me. Absolutely bamboozled. But that sewer thing in the ground, I guess there was enough water in it to where the birds were using it. It's a little bath. But I kind of have visions of doing cool stuff. Closed. Of doing cool things with the. Yeah, I just did that today. It was kind of wet, so it was kind of annoying. I always cut the back as low as I can, so I don't really care what it looks like. But then the front, I always do it like the 2 or 1 up from the lowest. But yeah, the grass grew a ton because it rained for the last couple days. Grew super fast. But this hill is super steep, so I can't like do anything with it. I don't. It's hard to like show how steep it is, but I want to put stuff on it, and I think it'd be cool to put like, I guess that tree up there that fell. Birds like to sit on that, but like it makes a natural enclosure in a sense. But the rabbits live in there, but like it's hard to show on video how steep it actually is. I guess if I kind of walk up it a little bit, it's like here it's not too bad, but it gets extremely angled up to get to the top, and then it's flat at the top. But I think if I put stuff, like dug it out a little bit and just put stuff in, I think it could look pretty cool. Have like a, I don't know, some sort of nature thing. That's kind of a long-term project though, because I don't really know what I'd want to do. But almost like dig out a little pond maybe, or like something that would catch water. Something like that, but it's hard to know exactly. But now that I have money, now that I'm not paying for grad school, so I finished that last assignment, so I'm all done with grad school now, so I'm just waiting for everything to get submitted, and then for them, I guess, to send a diploma, or I don't know what exactly goes on with that. But yeah, it would be pretty because then I could sit here on my back porch and look at all the birds, which there's not any right now. But oh no, hey, I don't blame you. Hey, have fun at your conference, Reed. I'm heading off too, so enjoy your pizza. Let me know how it is next time I talk to you. Deuces. Deuce.